Start. So hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name's James and I'm the Head of Marketing here at Charity Digital, and I'll be your host and would like to give you all a very warm welcome to today's session. So today's session is on 10 tools and tricks to boost motivation and productivity. The session will be delivered by Jen, a digital consultant and agile coach at Feel Good, Do Good, and the session will cover, amongst other things, why attention management is more important than time management, how to stay motivated while still prioritizing your well-being, incredible productivity tricks that anyone can implement. So just before I hand over to Jen, I just want to share a few house rules and pointers for today's session. The session's being recorded and will be uploaded to watch on demand within a week's time. The slides and other resources will also be made available to you by the end of the day, so don't worry if you've missed anything. If you need them, closed captions are available for today's session. So to enable these, in the bottom of the Zoom window, click the arrow up button next to closed caption and show subtitle. During the webinar, please ask loads of questions in the Q&A section, which is located on the Zoom menu bar, for Jen to address at the end of her presentation, and feel free to share any other comments, experiences, or top tips in the chat section. With the questions in the Q&A section, you can upvote questions if you want those to be answered, and those ones will be seen to first. Finally, if you encounter any sound or image issues, please let me know in the chat, and we'll do our very best to get the session back to normal as soon as I can. Without further ado, let me hand over to Jen.
Fab. Thanks so much, James. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for still being here despite the sunshine that we finally have outside. I was thinking no one's going to come. They all want to be outside in the sunshine. Maybe some of you are sat outside with your laptops. Who knows? I am in my little Zoom room in my co-working space. But I did sit outside for my lunch, so I've had some sunny time, which was nice. Right, I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully that is all good.
Yes.
James is nodding, so that's good.
All good.
So fab. I'm going to remove the chat for now, and I'll try and keep on top of it. So a little bit about me. So I am a charity consultant, do a lot of work in the digital world, so digital strategy, agile project management, things like that. I also do quite a lot of facilitation around kind of overarching strategy, team building, and more recently I have actually become a nature facilitator. So ultimately I'm taking all the facilitation work I do outside. I think there's a lot we can learn from being out in nature. We can better connect with our colleagues and each other and with our natural world. So that's kind of the new exciting me that's happening at the moment. I call myself a self-confessed productivity and happiness geek. I'm a certified happiness trainer. Who knew that was a thing? So always looking at ways to kind of make life and work more productive and more happy. I also run a co-working space, which is what I'm in now. So I saw, as you were introducing yourself, there's lots of people from the north. So I'm in Derbyshire on the edge of the Peak District in a small town called Matlock. I don't know if anyone's nearby, but hello if you are. So yes, that's a bit about me. Big reader. I've got a rescue dog who may appear in the slides at certain points. I like to kind of fit her in because she's super cute. I do a lot of hiking while swimming, that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's a bit about me. I do lots of things, and so I feel I'm quite good at getting things done because I'm juggling lots of different plates. So these are all the things that I've learned through experience, through reading lots of other books, and things like that. So hopefully they will help you and you'll have some ideas of things, tips and tricks that you can take away with you. So if you haven't already, please do introduce yourself in the chat, say where, what organisation you're from, maybe where in the world or the country you are right now, and your role. Yeah, it would be great to see who we've got here. So we're going to talk a bit today about some productivity myths, attention management, and then all those tips and tools, and then we're just going to end with a little bit about happiness and productivity. So I just, before we start, want to kind of share my thoughts on the word productivity. I feel like the word productivity has got a bit of a bad rep recently. We've kind of moved away from the girl boss era, the kind of we're going to do everything, we're going to get everything done all the time. And I think thankfully for all our sanities, we are moving more towards thinking about our well-being as well. And so actually loads of research has shown that productive people or successful people aren't necessarily the happiest. It's the happy people that become productive. So when you've kind of looking after yourself and your well-being, you're ultimately more likely to be enjoying what you're doing, getting things done. And so really, if there's one thing you take away from today, it's that looking after yourself is paramount if you want to be productive and motivated in your job or anything that you do, really. So I just wanted to start with that because I think it's quite important. Like, productivity is kind of like, oh, you've got to be productive all the time, and every organizations are trying to get the most out of every hour that you're in the office or at your desk or whatever it might be. And though ultimately we all want to be productive because that does make us feel better, it's a nice happy cycle, we need to look after ourselves first. So I think that's really important. So starting with a few myths, and I'd love for you to put in the chat whether you think each one is true or false. Okay, so I'll go through them write it in quickly. I'm sure you won't all get a chance, but kind of, are these things true or false? Okay, so number one, multitasking doesn't work. Is that true or is that false? So we've got true coming in. True, false, false, true, false, false. Oh, interesting. I feel like that's a bit 50-50. So this one, I will say that ultimately, on the whole, multitasking does not work. So if we're trying to switch between tasks all day long, we're not going to get as much done as if we focus on one thing that we really need to do. So a prime example of that is emails, okay? So if you're kind of like trying to, I don't know, write some social media posts, meanwhile, you're kind of emails are popping up and you kind of get distracted. You write halfway through a sentence and then you go and check your emails and you keep switching back and forth. That is not productive at all, and it does not work. You are much better switching your emails off, focusing on the task at hand until you're ready, and then going back to your emails. However, I do believe there are some examples when it does. My favourite example is I run my own business, and the thing that I am utterly terrible at and do not enjoy is accounts and the finances side of running a business. And every year I'm like, I'm going to be better at it this year. Every year it becomes, the last minute thing just before Christmas, having to get all my expenses sorted. I've got receipts all over the place, emails with receipts in. So one of my favorite multitasking does work is when I'm doing my expenses, because it's quite a mindless task. It doesn't actually involve much brain power. It's just filling things into a spreadsheet. I like to watch a Christmas 2 or 3. So that to me is positive multitasking. Other examples are maybe listening to a podcast while you're doing something that's a bit less, things that don't involve as much brain power, that's kind of quite a kind of manual task. I think there are ways of doing some multitasking, but on the whole, I would say it's not a good way to work. Number 2, productive people wake up at 5 a.m. True or false? False, false, false. Okay. Oh, true. False, 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 true. Okay, well, there's definitely more falses in this one. I would say false. You could argue true, because for some people, waking up at 5 a.m., that is their most productive time of the day. But we've been told a line that when you look at successful people in the world, they all talk about their 5 hours of sleep, and that's how they get things done, and they wake up at early in the morning and you get ahead of the day and you get 3 hours of work done before anyone else has woken up. And I see that, but that does not work for everyone. And so we have a tendency to listen to what 1 or 2 or 5 productive, successful people say and think that, oh, well, if I do that, I'm going to be productive too. But we all have different clocks. We all have different times that we work most productively. I definitely do not ever, unless I have a flight, ever wake up at 5 a.m. That is not my productive time. So yes, on the whole, I would say false. Okay. Productive people get everything done. There's my dog. See, that's Cookie. False, 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 true. Okay, again, mainly false. Cool. Yes, absolutely false. No one ever gets everything done because our to-do list will never end. And sometimes just realizing that can make us feel better. Okay. If you think of if you've ever kind of changed jobs, there's no better feeling than when you come to the end of the job and you're like, okay, this is not my problem anymore. Whatever's left at the end, I'm going to forward a bunch of emails on and I'm leaving and I'm starting a new job. That's probably the only time that you've finished your to-do list. And even then, you probably have not ticked off everything you wanted to do before you leave the job. So it's an impossibility because there is always more things to do, whether we're talking about work or in your personal life, social life, whatever, there is always more to do. So just remembering that when you're looking at your big, long to-do list, you're not going to get it all done, and that is okay. And I can see Jonathan's put, they get the key things done, and that is absolutely right. It's about prioritising what are the things you need to do. Okay, next one. You need to maximise every moment of your day. True or false? False, false, false. True, true, false, true. Okay, bit of a mix, but more falses. I again would say false because we generally work a 7-8 hour day. The truth is we're not made to. We cannot physically be productive all hours of every day. It's just not part of our human condition. And so again, you've got to work out when is the best time that you can get your most challenging or most mind numbing or all the different types of tasks that you do. Working out your energy can really help you kind of make the most of the day, but you're not going to be, I don't know, writing a strategy for 8 hours in a day and it all be productive time. It's just our brains need breaks, they need time away, they need change. So yeah, it's very hard to maximize every moment. Okay, and this is the final one. There's a secret formula for being productive. True or false? Lol, false. True, false. Okay, mainly false. A few truths. I want this to be true. Thank you, Christine. Wish it were true, Hannah. Yes, unfortunately, it is false. There is not a secret formula. I am going to help you create a formula that will work most of the time for you, but it will not work all of the time. You're never going to be productive every single day, every working day, whatever. It's our bodies change, our energy levels throughout the month might change, but there's definitely things we can do to help us stay motivated and to get tasks done when we're finding it really challenging. Okay, so I just want to start by talking a bit about productivity versus busy. And I think it's sometimes just really important to remember this. So what is busy what busy work versus productive work? So we can often feel really busy, and often that is when we're trying to multitask and do 100 things at once. Sending emails throughout the day, you can feel quite accomplished when you're sending emails, and emails are important and they can be a big part of work, but they are ultimately not the work. There was some research I saw even last week that apparently the number of emails we send and the number of meetings we have has increased since lockdown, and so actually the number of actual work we're doing has decreased. So there's definitely something that needs to change there. But yeah, so sending emails, switching tasks quickly, kind of constantly switching between things before you finish them, constant interruptions. So whether that's you've got meetings, you've got people asking you questions, you've got Slack things popping up, you've got more emails, whatever it might be, all those constant interruptions can make you feel really busy, but you're not actually being productive. And also just being reactive to things. And obviously there is an element in every job having to be reactive. If you're working in digital marketing, you know, something could happen and you've got to react to it. But for example, your to-do list becoming becomes what other people are sending you all the time. So that's you being reactive to what other people want, rather than thinking, actually, I really need to get this task done. I'm going to wait to respond to that email because that's their task and I need to crack on with this. And ultimately, when you weigh things up, that's more important. So things that can be productive that might not always seem being productive is having time to think, time to read an article that might help your job, to listen to a podcast, to go for a walk and really kind of process a challenging piece of work that you're working on. Time to actually think. It can feel like the last thing you have time to do, but sometimes that can be far more productive than sitting there responding to emails and not really thinking about things at all. Taking breaks, having a rest is really, really important. Time boxing, so deciding when you're going to do things at different times. And then ultimately working to a plan or having goals that you are working towards. Like ultimately you should be knowing where it is, the direction that you're going, and why this task that you're doing is ultimately working towards that goal, for your team or for your organization or for you personally, whatever it might be. Okay, so attention management. Attention management is our most important defense against a world that is conspiring to steal it. This has never been more true now, and for the last however many years of social media, for example, emails, doing things online. There are things that are constantly wanting our attention. Maybe you've got kids or caring responsibilities. There's so many partners, so many things that are wanting our attention. It could be your friends on WhatsApp wanting a response and being mad if you don't respond. There are so many things all the time that are trying to get our attention. Social media is literally set up to make us addicted to it. And so really becoming aware of that is the first step, okay, to your attention management, is just stopping and thinking, what is it that is taking my attention? And it could be something physical, or it could be something kind of in your brain, particular thoughts and things that are taking your attention and making it unable for you to focus on the work. So really thinking about what is it that's taking your attention. So if you want to think about how and when you can find your attention time, these are some questions you might want to, I think you'll get the slides, but you might want to write these down or think about for some planning afterwards. So when do you focus best? And it can change, but I know that I focus best from about 10 till 12, 1 o'clock. You've not got me at my best time. And then later from about 4 till 6 or 7. They are my kind of best times for working. Like I'm not a morning person and I'm not a night owl. I am like a day person, but I also know that I need that break, that longer break at some point in the middle of the day where I can get outside and go for a walk or read a book or do some more mindless tasks, as much focus time. But my best focus time is a couple of hours late morning and a couple of hours late afternoon. You might also want to think, when are you most creative? Because that might be different. It might be first thing in the morning, or it might be last thing at night, where you've got that more kind of creative time. Think about when you're tired. So often that kind of after lunch slot. So what are some of those easy routine tasks you could do? Maybe it's some of those easier emails you need to respond to, and you have a chunk of time where you're responding to emails, or maybe there's a spreadsheet you need to fill in, or there's some kind of tasks that are a bit easier that don't really take don't need as much brain space. But pay attention to what is consuming your time, and ultimately remind yourself why it is that you're doing it. So what is the bigger picture? Because that can really, really help with your focused attention. And sometimes when you're about to start a task, thinking about, right, why do I need to do this task? And what is the ultimate purpose? And I've got a little 4 things to kind of help you prioritize sometimes some of the work of the why and the what's important. So a few kind of simple tools, and we're going to go through 10 ultimate tips in a moment, but here's just a few kind of quick ideas to help you manage your attention. Ultimately, the number one is taking control of your distractions. So what is it that's distracting you? Are you working at home or with your parents or with your housemates or your partner, and are they constantly kind of, oh, can you make me a cup of tea? Oh, can you just look at this? Is it your team in an office? Is it emails? Is it Slack? What is it? And take control, turn things off. Tell people, I really need to focus on this, so I need some time. Put headphones on, put music in your ears if that works for you, or put brown noise or white noise. That's what works for some people, that's just kind of tunes out any other noise around you. A really simple one that sometimes when I'm really like, I've put it off and I'm like, right, Jenny, you just need to do this, is I say out loud, and at first I get my stuff ready, I know what I'm doing, I've got whatever it is on the screen, or I've got my pen or whatever it is, and I go, right, I'm ready, steady, go. And it sounds really silly, but saying it out loud can really help with that kind of like, right, okay, I'm doing it. As I said before, like remembering the why. So what is the reason that you're doing this? And if you don't really have a reason, you might need to take it off your list. Like if there isn't a purpose, a wider purpose, whatever that might be, that someone in your team needs it, or it's working towards the charity goal or whatever it might be, sometimes we put things on our list and we get really stressed that we're not doing them, and then we're like, actually, this isn't a priority, I don't need to do this, I can take it off my list. Doing short bursts of work, so timing things and taking a break, and then I've put don't multitask, but ultimately remember that your attention is limited. So if you are working on a strategy or writing a blog post or something that really takes a lot of brain power, you can't do that all day long. So do as much as you can and then step away and move on to another task. Okay, so I want you to just quickly take a couple of minutes to have a think about a task that you have been putting off, something that you really need to do. So maybe it's something really daunting, maybe it's something like quite scary or quite difficult, or maybe it's something that's just really boring that you're like, oh, I just really don't want to do that, but I know that I need to do it. So have a think about that task, and you might want to write it down if you've got a pen and paper. Why is it that you need to do this? Is it part of the bigger picture? What is the ultimate purpose of why you need to do it? Is it something that needs focus and that real brain power, or is it just something that needs time? It's, it might take a long time. So then think about when and where is the best place to do it. So is it something that you need to do in that focused energy time of the day, or is it something that's just a bit mindless and you can do like after lunch, that's not really a big deal, or you could do it sat watching TV? What are the kind of things that you could do in those times? And then where is it something you need to do in the office? Is it something you could be doing on the sofa or outside? If it's it's nice weather, what could you go and take outside to get some vitamin D and be in the sunshine for a while? And then also make sure that if you need to, break it up into more manageable chunks, because we have a tendency with our to-do list to write strategy, create social media plan, and actually those are pretty big tasks. So how can you break it down into something what's the first thing that you need to do? What could you do in half an hour, one afternoon? Like, how can you break it up? So have a think about that for a minute. If anyone wants to share a task and commit to it in the chat, you can. So I won't force you. And thank you to Joe for shout out to all those all those with ADHD who've learned not to stress when you just can't get things done, but you'll catch up as soon as you get hyper focus. Yes, definitely. Thank you, Joe. Here we go. So Anne is committing to completing her ILM level 7 assignments. So Anne, you need to break that down into chunks. So if you've got multiple assignments, and I guess there's multiple sections to each assignment, how can you break it down? So maybe you're going to say, right, I am going to write my subheaders, or I'm going to do the research, or I'm going to do this on this day, and this needs focus and this doesn't. Completing our annual equality monitoring return. So again, kind of like, how can you break that down? Is there some like analytics side to it? And is it a form that you need to fill in? Like, what is it that you need to, how can you break that down into chunks? And a very tricky grant application. Okay, another one, breaking it down. Do you want to kind of work on the goals of it first? What are the questions that you have to fill in on that grant application? Is it the budget that you need to chat to someone about? Another thing to think about with this is when it is something that's quite daunting or scary, sometimes you might need to ask for help. So, you know, remembering that actually, I probably need to chat this through with someone and I'm getting really stressed in my own head about it, when really I just need to take that away and talk to someone else about it. Okay, so thank you to everyone sharing though. I'm going to move on. So we're going to go through now 10 of my favourite productivity hacks. Number one, I've already shared this, but rest. You see, counterintuitive. How do you be productive? You have a rest. I cannot explain how important this is. My partner, he tells me all the time, if I message him and say, oh, I'm not getting it done, I'm feeling really stressed, he was like, right, well, if you're not getting it done, just leave it and go for a walk, or call someone and chat to about it, or just do something different but sit at your computer getting stressed. So sometimes going out for a walk, just taking 20 minutes to read your book with a cup of tea, and having a proper rest can really help. Another tip linked to this, which I really like, is when you're doing if it's something that has been quite challenging and then you kind of get into the zone and you know it's something that's going to maybe happen over a few days, stop when you know what happens next. So I do a lot of blogging, and I love when I'm writing a blog, I'll kind of, you know, get into the flow of it, and I'll maybe be like, right, I know that all I need to do now is either edit it, or I need to check my keywords for my subheaders. And so I've got what I need to do next. And I'm like, right, well, I know what I need to do next. I'm going to leave it till tomorrow, so that when you start the next day, you're ready to hit the ground running. You don't need to think about what's happening next. You know what's happening next. So sometimes that can be a really simple trick to kind of start your day off being productive, because sometimes when you start having got something done, it gives you that momentum to keep going. So you may well have seen this. There's lots of books around at the moment about rest, but here's just a few of the different kinds of rest. Rest isn't just sitting down with a cup of tea. It might be different types of rest that you need. You might need time away from the digital world. You might need time outside. You might need time with your favorite people that energize you. You might need some time to be creative, to journal or doodle or whatever. Or you might literally just need some sleep. So think about the different kind of rest that you might need. And we need all of these at different points in our life. And it's trying to think and become aware of what kind of rest it is that we need. Okay, number two, perhaps the opposite of rest, depending how you look at it, is move. So research shows that exercise can actually improve productivity by 21%. And by that doesn't mean you have to go out and run 10K in your lunch break. That actually just short, low intensity in the day can really help. So that's just going for a walk at lunchtime, or maybe doing some stretching every so often at your desk, or maybe starting your day with some yoga or something, like short things that just involve moving. So not sitting at our desks all day long, but getting some stretching and moving into our day. Okay, so this is the thing I mentioned earlier. You've probably heard this phrase, eat the frog. So that's ultimately, what is this thing? So when I made you kind of have a think about what's the big daunting task that's bothering you, how can you do something to get that task done or work towards getting that task done at the start of the day? So you get that uncomfortable, annoying thing done, because as I said, when you get something done first, you're more likely to have that momentum to kind of keep moving and keep being productive throughout the day. And you'll see here, you can kind of turn this in. You could do it on a piece of paper when you're looking at your to-do list into a little quadrant, like just draw like 2 lines with it, draw across the page. And in one corner, you can have things you don't want to do, but need to do, because ultimately they're the most important and the hardest, because you don't want to do them, but you absolutely have to do them. So that's why it's the hardest one to do, but it's also arguably the most important. Then you might have things you want to do and you need to do. So they're a bit easier because you want to do them. It might be something that you really enjoy doing. What's the best job? And you're like, actually, I know I need to do that, but I also know that I really want to and I quite enjoy it. So I'll get that done regardless. I can do that in the quieter part of the day or whatever. Then you have things that you want to do, but don't need to do. So that might be a project that you're working on at work, or maybe something that you're working on outside of work. I've always got a million things in this that are like things I want to do, but don't need to do. So at the moment, I am trying to write a book. Nobody asked me to write a book. I don't have to write a book, but I really want to write a book. And so that is in that box that's like, I know I really want to do it, and I know it's going to make me feel good if I manage to do it, but I don't need to. So it can be quite hard. It kind of keeps getting pushed down the priority list because I don't need to do it. And then there's the things you don't want to do and you don't need to do. So if you've got anything in that box, get rid of them. You don't need to do it. Nobody's asking you to do it. You don't want to do it. We have a tendency to have all kinds of things like this on our list. And sometimes when we just take some time to kind of break things up into these 4 quadrants, we'll suddenly realize, like, actually, I can get rid of this stuff because it's not necessary. It could also be something that you don't need to do now. Like maybe it's a project in a year's time, it's an idea, or, things that you can just move down the list. You can take it off your to-do list and put it on some like future projects list or something. So that simple way of kind of breaking up your to-do list can really kind of help you prioritize things and work out when's best to do them and things as well. So linked to that one is getting new ideas out of your head. So I don't know about you, but I am kind of always kind of like, new idea, I could do this thing. And oh, wouldn't it be great if I could do this? And I'm always getting distracted. And then I'll suddenly start like researching things. And then I'm on Google and then I'm looking at other similar ideas that are out there. And then I've suddenly spent an hour wasting my time like thinking about this new idea. And that can be really distracting. So we think about what takes our attention. It's often ourselves and what's in our brains. It can be really negative stuff. It can be really positive stuff. But ultimately, what is it? What are these new ideas you've got and how can you get them out of your head? So have an ideas list. So you might just have it in your phone. You might have it on a piece of paper. I use Trello. It could be part of a weekly review. So I do a kind of weekly review. I generally do it on a Sunday. I work for myself, so I don't recommend doing it on a Sunday if you don't want to. If you're working kind of a normal kind of Monday to Friday job, then the best time I recommend to do a kind of weekly review would be a Friday afternoon. So putting in kind of half an hour or an hour into your diary every Friday afternoon, because I find it quite a fun task. It's probably one of my favourite things. I do it on a Sunday afternoon and I sit at my desk and I clear the rubbish out my inbox and I go through my, what are the kind of essentials that I've got on in the week. So maybe I've got particular meetings that I need to prepare for or things like this. I've got a webinar or I've got a strategy day that I'm delivering. Like I get those into my diary first because they're the kind of non-negotiable. And then I go through kind of things that have come into my inbox and be like, right, what are the key projects in here that I might need to respond to? And then I go through my clients or my other projects that I work on and I think, what are the things and where do they fit in the gaps within my week? And I try and plan my week out and plan my days in each day in the week of what is my to-do list each day, what are the priorities, what are the kind of less essentials, and I kind of plan that out each week. And I might look at some of my ideas. So if I've got those kind of like new things and be like, do I have any time to fit anything in about this new idea that I could do? And if I've got a slot, I could be like, right, I'm going to have a couple of hours of doing some research into that or something. So all of that kind of getting those things out of your head can help you refocus, but then doing that kind of weekly review and preparing for the week ahead can really help you kind of hit the ground running. I didn't have time in this workshop to kind of go through all those different stages of the weekly review, but ultimately putting a time in your diary to kind of go through and plan for the week, I don't know about you, but when I've planned my week, I am so much more productive than when I come in on a Monday morning and think, right, what am I doing? And just like, before I know it, it's 11, 12 o'clock and I've barely done anything because I haven't decided ahead of time, what am I doing Monday morning? What are the things that I need to hit the ground running with? And I'm so much more productive from the off if I have planned it ahead of time. Okay. So number 5, power hour or power 15. So this is thinking of something that you really want to do. So this is that kind of like don't need to do it, but really want to do it stuff. What could you do to move it forward in 15 minutes or maybe an hour or half an hour, whatever you want each day, and you slowly kind of move that thing forward. So for me, it's my book. And I've been putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. This week, I've done literally just 15 minutes a day. And I have written 750 words so far this week. And sometimes I ended up doing a bit more than 15 minutes because I was kind of in the zone and I went a bit more. But I've moved it forward. It's only 750 words, but I have moved it forward. And over time, that becomes thousands and thousands of words. Like a book is a easy example, but it could be anything. It could be something in work. It could be something out of work. Sue's put the ironing. That's another thing that I multitask with. I do the ironing while watching a film I really want to watch, and then it becomes a more enjoyable task. I don't do the ironing very often either, but I do find I do a lot more ironing in the summer. I think there's more light clothes that show up the creases, or I don't know. Anyway, ironing, separate conversation. Yeah, so it could be maybe you want to learn an instrument or you want to learn a language, or it could be something like that you could kind of take steps forward, small steps every day, and those incremental changes, incremental additions really make a difference over time. Okay, number 6, batching. So what kind of tasks can you group together? Because grouping things that are kind of similar can help you retain focus on them. So a really good example of that is emails. Okay, that's the easiest example. It's kind of actually we have a tendency to be looking at our emails all day long, all the time, getting distracted, and not being able to focus on the task at home at hand. But maybe you want to put like an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon. Maybe you need to do it more regular than that. It depends on the job that you've got and how emails work within your organization, which is a whole separate conversation. But what kind of tasks can you group together? So this could also, you could group them by effort. So it could be like all the easy tasks, right? So some of it might be emails, some of it might be admin type stuff, things that don't take as much brain capacity. How could you group those together? It could be things that involve phoning people. So maybe if you've got to make a few phone calls, you could batch those together, and maybe you do them on a walk. So you're getting outside. Or that's when you kind of book a meeting room and get them all done. It could be things that involve, like, again, I like to talk about both work life and personal life together because I think they're both important. We've got to-do lists in both. So I like to group things that I need to do out and about. So maybe like in my lunch break, I'm like, right, I've got to buy stamps, post 2 birthday cards. I've got to get a present for my mum. I've got to pick up some milk. Like, what are the kind of little tasks that I know that I can do while I'm out and about? So how can you kind of batch some of your tasks together so that you're focused on that kind of group of things? Can really help, rather than you're like making a phone call and you're sending an email and then you're doing half an hour on a digital strategy and then you're mixing it up. But how can you group things together? Okay, number 7. Who has heard of the Pomodoro method? Say yes or no in the chat, because this is my absolute favorite productivity tip, tool, trick, whatever. And it's so simple. You literally just focus on one task for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, and then repeat. And honestly, when nothing else works, this works. If you did it all day, every day, it's going to get old. But when nothing else has worked, I get on it with the Pomodoro. So it's called the Pomodoro because it's based on an old kitchen timer that's like a tomato, which normally I have with me, but I don't have in this room. I bought one online and it took me about 2 years to realise that I bought an apple, not a tomato. So my Pomodoro timer is actually an apple. But still, it works the same. It's literally like you turn it to 25 minutes and it pings at you at the end. I move my phone across the room and I decide what I'm going to work on, and then I focus for 25 minutes. I find it works even better when you're doing it with other people. So I do it in my co-working space. We kind of do collaborative Pomodoros where we all kind of like, right, guys, we need to focus. Let's do a Pomodoro. And 25 minutes, 5-minute break, and then you go again. And they generally tell you to do it in cycles of 4. So it's basically like 2 hours work, but you've had 4 5-minute breaks. And honestly, it amazes me every time how much I get done. Like, particularly when I'm writing blog posts, I can write 700 words in 25 minutes when I've planned, and I've maybe 125 minutes has been spent planning it, doing my subtitles, whatever it might be. And then I'm like, right, I know what I'm writing, and it's out. So really, really recommend this one if nothing else works. There are loads of apps, Forest app, that's one where you like trees grow, and yeah, Focus Keeper. But you can also just Google Pomodoro timer and it's literally, oh, that's my watch. My watch is set to go off at 1:44 and I don't know how to stop it. So I always know it's 1:44. So really recommend the Pomodoro. Okay. I also think I spelled Pomodoro wrong because I'm pretty sure it's O, not A, in the middle. But anyway, onwards. Get outside. So as a nature facilitator, I cannot recommend getting outside enough. It improves our mental health, it boosts creativity, and it helps us manage stress. So if you don't get outside at least once a day, add that to, do that in your lunch break, do it in a short break, do it to make phone calls. I've started taking more and more meetings when it's just 2 people as a phone call, and I do it while walking rather than on Zoom. It kind of lessens the amount of time I spend staring at my computer, which really helps me. I do a lot of hiking myself, but you don't need to do a big hike. You can just do a short walk around the block, around your park, whatever it might be. There's so much more I could say on that in terms of like benefits of connecting with nature and things you can do. One quick one is having a sit spot. So finding a spot near your house or near your office where you can sit in nature. It could be by a tree, it could be in a park, it could be in your garden, and you go back to that same spot every week or even every day and just sit for kind of 15-20 minutes. You don't have your headphones on, you don't have your phone, and you just kind of just be. You might want to journal, you might want to write things or be creative or just sit and watch nature. But anyway, that's a separate conversation for another day. But ultimately, there's so much evidence that shows how getting outside can really kind of boost us in so many ways. So, number 9, confidence. It sounds obvious, maybe, but often what's stopping us from being productive is a lack of confidence. It's that we don't believe in ourselves, in what we're doing, or that we can do what we're trying to do. So just, again, a whole other session thinking about how to boost confidence. And it might be that there's something else going on and you need some support. Maybe it's something that you need more training or things on, or you've got other mental health stuff going on. But there are things we can do. There's lots of stuff that you can find online around boosting our confidence. And when we believe in ourselves and we believe that we can do what we're trying to do, we're going to find it easier to do it. It sounds obvious, but if we think about what is it that is stopping me from doing this task, is it that I just don't think I'm very good at it? And is that something I can work on myself? So really, again, loads I could say around that, but often that is what's holding us back in being productive. Okay, and then finally, number 10, be kind to yourself. So I started off thinking about saying how productivity can be a bit of a funny word. And ultimately, it's we need to look after ourselves first. If we want to be productive, if we want to be successful at work, do our job well, we need to look after ourselves first. So we're not going to be productive all through the day. We're not going to get every single thing on our to-do list done. And remembering that sometimes can really help, and giving yourself time to rest and all those things I've said. So ultimately, you need to be kind to yourself. I've just seen, thank you, Chloe, for sharing the saying, what scares you now will soon be further proof of your capability. So true, so true. Like, that's how we move forward in everything in life, is by doing things that are a bit scary. And when I know that I'm kind of pushing myself, it's when I feel equally excited as I do scared about something. That is the sign that it's something I should be doing. So if you're scared of it, but you're also excited by it, that is like, yes, you're kind of moving in the direction that you want to go. Okay, so I said earlier about how research has shown that it's not productivity that leads to happiness, it's happiness that leads to productivity. And there's lots of research that has proven that. Quite a difficult thing to prove, but there's research that shows it's true. And I think we just kind of know that. It's kind of common sense. So a few things that might help with being at work. Remember to celebrate your achievements. So think about what you have done. We have a tendency to focus on all the things we haven't done, and we're never, as I said, we're never going to do everything. So how can you focus on the things that you have done and celebrate some of those achievements? Remember that we're not 100% happy and 100% productive every day. It's impossible. You might think people are, from all the books out there and the TED Talks and the blog posts about, you know, how they smash their goals every single day. It's a lie. They still have crappy days as well. Believe in yourself, as I said, like confidence and believing, you know, you were employed to do the job, you decided to do the task or the project or have this client or whatever. Believe in yourself, because other people have already believed in you by giving you these roles in whatever form that might be. Remember your purpose. So what is your ultimate purpose for what you're doing? And that could be the charity's purpose, but it could also be your purpose. Like, this is a job that's leading to that job, or I did this job because I really believe in the charity's mission, or I'm doing this because I really want to get better so that I can then do that, or whatever it might be. And then also find the fun. How can you make some of these tasks be more fun? Like, that's there's always ways to make tasks fun. So I make my accounting fun by watching fun movies while I'm filling in a spreadsheet about my expenses. And that really helps. And it's something I end up looking forward to, because it's generally around December or November. So I put Christmas movies on, and I love Christmas movies. So it's my excuse to watch Christmas of the day. So that's how I make accounts fun. And then finally, these are the 4 main happy chemicals. And my best one is dopamine. And you may well have heard this before, but what gives us dopamine, one of the big things that gives us dopamine is ticking things off our to-do list. And so if you sometimes do something and it wasn't on your list, so you write it on your list so you can then tick it off, that's okay, because you're giving yourself a dopamine hit. It's totally okay to do that. Here's your permission to write a to-do list of all the things that you've already done, just so you can tick them off. Oxytocin is kind of the hug hormone. So we get that through gratitude. So being thankful to yourself, being thankful to others about the work and stuff that's been done. Hugging animals. That's why my dog is in my co-working space. She's always around should I need her. Serotonin, again, we get that through kind of appreciating others, and obviously that getting outside, getting walks in nature, sunlight, all of that. And then finally, endorphins. So endorphins are generally seen as being from exercise, so kind of moving, laughing. But another big one is eustress. So we talk about stress, and stress is not something you generally want. However, there is eustress, and eustress is kind of positive stress. So sometimes if you think, so again, what I said about when you're kind of excited and scared about something, you might feel quite stressed. You might kind of feel your heartbeat getting up or whatever it might be, but there's a level where actually it's okay. You get that kind of like positive stress, and it's about keeping the balance so you don't kind of tip over into bad stress, which is bad for our mental health in lots of different ways, and physical health. But sometimes when you're working on something and you're really excited about what it is you're working on, and you might kind of feel like, oh my God, I gotta get this done, but you're enjoying yourself. Like that's kind of like the positive side of stress. That's why sometimes you might think of a time when like actually I was stressed, but I was quite enjoying myself. So that is the end. If you want to put in the chat something that you're going to put into practice this afternoon or tomorrow to commit to be held accountable, what is it? So Emma's going to do a Pomodoro, great. Oh, and more Pomodoros, excellent. So if everyone is going to do a Pomodoro this afternoon, let's all commit to it. And oh, Antonia's going to eat the frog, excellent. Just off to rest by seeing some kittens. I love that. Eating a frog, schedule time for a weekly review, setting aside time for a weekly review. Oh, somebody's just ordered a tomato timer. Time boxing, eat the frog, excellent. Watching some Christmas films in the sunshine. I love that. I love that. Edward's going on holiday. I mean, you need that's a definite form of rest. Jamila's doing the Power 15. Anne's going to do some thinking time and 15 minutes a day on the worst job. There you go. That's the way to get it done. Just 15 minutes a day. Hug the dog. Excellent, Debbie. I love that. Cuddle my cat. Yes, this is brilliant. Okay, well, everyone, yeah, go and do those things this afternoon. This is me. I think we're going to do, you can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. I'm Jenny Lowthrop. I'm going to stop sharing now. And I think we're going to do some questions.
Yes, yeah, we've got 5 minutes just for a few questions. So yeah, thank you, Jen, for the presentation. Plenty of really interesting thinking points there. I have already downloaded one of the apps, so I'm going to look into that this afternoon. So yeah, plenty of things that we can take away. So we've got one question in the Q&A box at the moment, but feel free to post some more and we'll get through as many as we can in the next 5 minutes. So our first one is, would love to hear some tips for those who are neurodivergent.
Oh, excellent. So I think really, so I'm not an expert, I'll be honest, but it's working out what works for you because it is different. So as I think someone put in the chat earlier, some people with ADHD find that they have like mega focus time and then time when they're really not focused at all. So really kind of making the most of those times when you are in that focus time and thinking about what is it that you can really focus on for that period. And I think from what I understand, you don't always know when that time is going to come. So I've got a couple of people who are autistic and have ADHD that come to my co-working space. And generally they book quite flexibly because they say kind of like, right, I really want to come. It's actually, one of them is also writing a book. And she says, but I think I'm going to come Friday, but it kind of depends what frame of mind I'm in. So sometimes she might change last minute and be like, actually, today's not the day. I'm moving this to next week. I'm going to try again on Wednesday. So really kind of thinking about things like that. But I don't have any, I'm not an expert. So if anyone else in the chat has things to share, please do share them.
Yeah, please do post anything in the chat. That would be really useful. So we have another one. Thanks so much for this session. Do you have any tips for getting into a task that you've tried multiple times to get through, but can't seem to focus for long enough?
Okay, so I would say, first of all, break it down. So if you've got some big task that's feeling quite scary, really kind of break it into more manageable chunks and then think about some of the tips I've shared. So what could you do in 25 minutes? And maybe, so sometimes, as I said, with Pomodoros, you generally do like 4. If you're really struggling to get it done, just do a small amount at a time, because actually you're going to get more done in those smaller chunks. If it's something you hate, something you're really struggling, breaking it up and not trying to do like, right, I'm going to do it all on Monday, because you're going to lose that pretty quickly. So instead, break it up and be like, right, I'm going to do 25 minutes on Monday, I'm going to do 25 minutes on Tuesday. And also try and work out why it is you're really struggling with it. So is it something that actually you need to find help with and you need to speak to someone else about? Or is it something where you need to like just believe in yourself and get that confidence? Or is it something that's just actually mind-numbingly boring and you need to find a way to kind of make it a bit more fun or something? Yeah, hope that helps.
Yeah, brilliant answer. Thank you. There aren't any other questions in the chat at the moment. We've probably got time for one more. Is there anything in the chat?
There's one from Emma that says, what's my book going to be about? So my book is about last year I hiked 1,000 miles across every national park, walked across every national park in England, 10 weeks, 10 national parks, 1,000 miles with my dog Cookie. And so we are writing about that. Well, I am writing, Cookie is not writing. I am writing about our journey across England's national parks and why we need to look after England, all national parks and nature and all of that. And it's why I'm now doing nature connection facilitation, because I want to be outside more and realize the benefits of being outside. We can all be more creative, learn from each other, all of that stuff. We should take all strategy stuff outside wherever possible and not be in boring meeting rooms. So yeah.
That's brilliant.
Tony has also shared some tips, neurodiversity tips in the chat. So yeah, tool time boxing, body doubling, I don't know what that is. Accountability buddy, that's a really good one. Conscious breathing, mindfulness. Yeah, really good ideas there, Tony. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. And then we've just had one more come through the Q&A box. How would you suggest sharing these tips to people higher up in an organization, e.g. HR, senior management, etc.?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Good question.
Yeah, it is good, because I think actually if people in senior management don't understand or don't appreciate the benefits of taking breaks or doing things outside or whatever it might be, it can make it quite hard for you. So yeah, I don't know. Suggest books to read. Get me to come and do a talk.
Send them the recording of this when it goes around.
Send them the recording. Yeah, it's a tricky one because ultimately it needs to come from them. But also I just want to end with one thing that I think somebody shared. Louise put, I look forward to refreshing these ideas every so often to stay productive and healthy. And if I end with that, is that being productive and being motivated is not something you come to this session and then that's it. You're productive and motivated for the rest of your life. Like, you have to keep filling the box. You have to keep reminding yourself. So even now, I still listen to podcasts about productivity, or I still read some kind of inspiring things to get me motivated. Like, it's a constant thing. The same way we don't go for a run and suddenly we're fit and healthy forevermore. Like, it's something you have to work on continuously.
Yeah,
Fab.
really great point.
Thank you, everyone.
Unfortunately, that's
I
all
do talk to organisations, Catherine.
Yes,
Sorry.
I was gonna mention that. Yeah, thank you so much for attending today, and thank you to Jen. Really engaging webinar. If you could share your feedback with us, that'd be fantastic. So the link is in the webinar chat. It just helps us to continue to improve these sessions and really help the charity sector. And finally, our next Charity Digital webinar will be about how to lower your digital carbon footprint. Importantly, the webinar is free, and we've posted the link to this in the chat as well. So hope to see you there. So thanks everyone for attending. Thank you to Jen yet again for a brilliant webinar, and hopefully see you all on the next one. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good afternoon. Get outside, enjoy the sunshine.
Definitely. It's my plan.